I spent $33,400 on my son and his wife over 3 years. I paid their rent every single month. I bought every piece of furniture in their home. And when I called to ask about their wedding date, my daughter-in-law looked me straight in the eye and said, "Oh, we already got married yesterday. We only invited special people." I wasn't special enough. What happened next changed everything. Stay with me, because this story gets intense. Hello, beautiful souls, and welcome back to Mae's Stories. I'm so glad you're here today. If you're new to the channel, this is where we share real-life stories about resilience, boundaries, and finding your strength when life tests you the hardest. Today's story is about Renata, a 71-year-old mother who gave everything to her son and daughter-in-law, only to discover a heartbreaking truth about their relationship. This is a story about manipulation, betrayal, and ultimately, liberation. Before we begin, if this story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Mae's Stories for more powerful life stories. And drop a comment below telling me where you're watching from and what you think about Renata's journey. When Renata picked up the phone to ask her son Max about his upcoming wedding, she never expected what came next. Standing in her own living room, watching her daughter-in-law Lena settle comfortably onto the sofa that Renata herself had purchased, she heard those crushing words, "We already got married yesterday. We only invited special people." The statement hit like ice water. For 3 years, Renata had been paying $500 a month for their rent. She'd furnished their entire apartment. She'd filled their refrigerator when they had nothing. And now, she learned she wasn't special enough to witness her only son's wedding. The pale pink dress hanging in her closet suddenly felt like a monument to her foolishness. She'd spent $200 on it, imagining how lovely she'd look in Max's wedding photos she would never appear in. She'd set aside $1,000 as their wedding gift. She'd called her sister Diana in Chicago with the good news. She'd cleaned her entire house, thinking they might celebrate with her afterward. All of it collapsed with those 4 poisoned words, "Only special people." Max finally looked up, his voice rehearsed and hollow. "Mom, it was intimate. Very small. Just us and the witnesses." But Renata knew it was a lie. She saw the social media photos later, Lena's parents posing proudly beside the couple, her siblings raising champagne glasses, Lena in a white dress that Renata had helped finance with $800 she'd given for personal expenses just last month. She saw everything she wasn't supposed to see. Exactly 1 week after that humiliation, Lena called. Her voice had completely changed, no longer confident, but desperate, almost pleading. "Renata, the rent is overdue. The landlord is threatening to evict us. You forgot to make the transfer." Renata stayed silent, remembering all the times she'd rushed to the bank for them. All the times she'd cancelled her own plans to ensure they had a roof over their heads. All the times she'd eaten beans and rice so she could fund their desires. And now, after excluding her from the most important moment of their lives, they had the audacity to call as if nothing had happened. "Lena," Renata said with surprising calm, "didn't I warn you that I only help special people?" The silence on the other end was so deep that Renata could hear her own heartbeat. For the first time in years, it wasn't she who was trembling, it was Lena. "Renata, I don't understand," Lena stammered. "We've always been special to you. You're like a second mom to me." Lies. All lies, wrapped in that sweet voice Lena only used when she needed something. That night, Renata sat on her bed and cried. But these weren't tears of sadness, they were tears of anger, of accumulated frustration, of years of silently endured humiliation. She cried for the foolish mother she'd been, for the woman who'd lost herself trying to be indispensable to people who considered her dispensable. When morning came, something inside her had fundamentally changed. She looked at herself in the bathroom mirror, the same tired eyes, the same wrinkles telling stories of years giving love without receiving it back. But there was something new in her gaze, a hardness she didn't recognize, a determination that had been buried under years of compliance. Renata sat at her kitchen table and began calculating. She wanted to see, in exact numbers, the extent of her own foolishness. Monthly rent, $500 times 36 months equals $18,000. Food and supplies, approximately 200 monthly equals 7,200. Birthday, Christmas, and anniversary gifts, at least 3,000. Medical emergencies for Lena, 800. Car loan they never repaid, 2,500. Air conditioner repair, 600. Living room furniture, 1,200. The total was staggering, $33,400. That was the exact price of her generosity, money taken from her late husband's inheritance, from her pension, from savings she'd accumulated penny by penny over decades of honest work. All thrown away to keep two adults comfortable who couldn't even pretend to respect her. When her phone rang with Max's name, Renata did something revolutionary. She let it ring. Once, twice, 3 times. Then silence. 10 minutes later, Lena called. Renata let that one ring too. A text arrived from Max, "Mom, please answer. We need to talk." Renata deleted it without replying. That afternoon, she went to the bank and spoke with Mr. Klein, the branch manager who'd processed every transfer to Max and Lena for 3 years, watching her account drain month after month. "Mr. Klein," she said firmly, "I need to cancel all automatic transfers and protect my accounts. I don't want anyone else to have access to my money." While Mr. Klein processed the cancellations, her phone didn't stop ringing. It was as if Max and Lena had radar detecting when their income source was in danger. "Mrs. Richter," Mr. Klein said as he handed her the papers, "I hope you're not being pressured to make these changes." His concern was genuine, more genuine than any interest Max had shown in months. "I'm not being pressured, Mr. Klein. On the contrary, I've finally stopped pressuring myself." When Renata arrived home, she found 3 cars parked outside. Max's, Lena's, and one she didn't recognize. Through her windows, she could see movement inside her own house. They had keys. Keys she'd given them because she trusted them. She took a deep breath and opened the door to find a scene she'd never forget: Max sitting with his head in his hands, Lena pacing like a caged animal, and an older man she didn't know rifling through her personal documents on the dining table. "What is happening here?" Renata demanded. All 3 looked at her as if she were the intruder. "Renata, thank God," Lena said urgently. "We need to talk. Mr. Fisher is from the law firm we consulted about your situation." "My situation?" Renata asked calmly. "What situation?" "I'm doing perfectly fine." Max lifted his head, panic in his eyes. "Mom, we went to the bank. They told us you canceled everything. We don't understand why." Mr. Fisher, a man in his 50s wearing a gray suit and an insincere smile, approached with an outstretched hand. "Mrs. Richter, I'm Dr. Fisher, a family law attorney. Your children are concerned about your mental well-being." Renata didn't shake his hand. Instead, she walked to her dining table and gathered all her private papers he'd been reviewing without permission. "These are my documents. You have no right to look at them." "Mom," Max said condescendingly, "we're worried. Your behavior has been strange. First you cut us off financially. Then you don't answer calls. We think you need professional help." Lena took Renata's hand with fake tenderness. "Honey, we know you're stressed. Maybe loneliness is affecting you. At your age, episodes of confusion are normal." The word confusion echoed like an alarm bell. Renata understood now they'd brought the lawyer to declare her mentally incompetent and seize control of her finances. "I am not confused," Renata said with fierce clarity. "I'm clearer than I've been in years. And you're going to leave my house right now." Mr. Fisher interjected smoothly, "Mrs. Richter, your children have the right to intervene if they believe your financial decision-making is impaired. They've documented several concerning behaviors." "Concerning behaviors?" Renata's laugh was harsh. Like deciding my money belongs to me? Like refusing to finance two adults who treat me like trash? Lena jumped up as if slapped. We never treated you badly. Everything you have will belong to us one day anyway. We're just speeding up the process. There it was, the naked truth. In their minds, she was already dead, and they were simply collecting their inheritance early. Out, Renata said, pointing to the door. All three of you. Now. Max stood angrily. Mom, we can't just leave. We have obligations: the rent, car payments, the credit card you co-signed. Who says I can't? Renata's voice rose. For years I've paid rent on a property not in my name, filled a refrigerator in a house where I wasn't welcome, financed a life that had no place for me. Mr. Fisher placed a folder on the table. Mrs. Richter, we've prepared documents that could facilitate this transition of power of attorney, allowing Max and Lena to manage your finances more efficiently. Renata took the folder and, without opening it, threw it directly into the trash. The only transition happening here is yours to the front door. The confrontation didn't end there. Over the following weeks, Max and Lena escalated dramatically. A social worker appeared at Renata's door, investigating reports that she was at risk. They'd involved government services, claiming she showed signs of paranoia by installing security cameras and cutting off family communication. But Renata had prepared. She'd hired attorney Mr. Weber, who specialized in protecting elderly rights. She'd undergone a comprehensive psychiatric evaluation with Dr. Moore, which confirmed her cognitive function was not just normal, but excellent for her age. She'd also found something unexpected: a community. Her neighbor Eleanor had been through a similar situation with her own daughter years earlier. Eleanor introduced Renata to a group of women who'd all faced financial abuse from family members. For the first time in years, Renata had friendships based on mutual respect, not financial obligation. When Max and Lena finally filed a formal lawsuit seeking legal guardianship, claiming Renata was mentally incompetent to manage her affairs, she was ready. The courtroom was tense. Max wore a new suit, probably bought for the occasion. Lena dressed in black, as if attending a funeral, and perhaps it was the funeral of their family relationship. Their lawyer painted Renata as a confused elderly woman manipulated by strangers into alienating her loving family. She's installed unnecessary security systems due to paranoia, he argued. She's cut off financial support without rational explanation. Lena testified with Oscar-worthy tears, describing how devastating it was to watch Renata's supposed mental decline. But when Mr. Weber cross-examined her, the cracks appeared. Mrs. Schuster, when was the last time you called my client without asking for money? Lena stammered. We talked about many things. Can you give me a specific date? I don't remember exact dates. Is it true that you told my client she wasn't special enough for your wedding? Lena's face reddened. Those words were taken out of context. What would be the right context to tell your mother-in-law she's not a special person? She had no convincing answer. Max's testimony was equally devastating, unable to explain why a 35-year-old man needed his 71-year-old mother to pay his rent, unable to name a single time he'd visited without asking for money. Then came Renata's witnesses, Dr. Moore with her excellent psychiatric evaluation, Mr. Green the pharmacist explaining how he'd been tricked into signing a misleading statement, Renata's new friends testifying to her clarity and vitality. Finally, Renata herself took the stand. Why did you stop supporting them financially? Mr. Weber asked. Because I finally understood that what I was getting wasn't love, Renata said clearly. It was a commercial transaction disguised as a family relationship. My money was welcome, but I as a person was not. Do you regret your decision? I only regret that it took me so long to make it. Judge Miller deliberated for 2 hours that felt like 2 years. When he returned, his expression was serious but clear. After reviewing all evidence, it is obvious to this court that Mrs. Renata Richter is in full possession of her mental faculties. Professional evaluations confirm her cognitive competence. Her financial decisions, however painful for her family, are completely rational and within her rights. Furthermore, the evidence suggests this lawsuit is motivated by financial interest rather than genuine concern for Mrs. Richter's well-being. The court completely denies the request for guardianship. Renata had won. She'd won not just the lawsuit, but her freedom, her dignity, her right to live without abuse from those who supposedly loved her. As they left the courthouse, she saw Max and Lena talking angrily with their lawyer. Lena shot her a look of pure hatred. Max looked at her one last time, and for a second she saw something that might have been regret. But it was already too late. 3 months later, Renata sold her house and moved to a beautiful apartment near the city center. She donated half her money to organizations protecting the elderly from family abuse. With the other half, she began living the life she'd always wanted. She traveled through Europe. She took art classes. She joined volunteer groups. She never heard from Max and Lena again. Through others, she learned they'd moved to a smaller apartment and that Lena had found her first job in years. Perhaps adversity would teach them what generosity never could: the value of honest work and independence. Some nights, looking at the stars from her new balcony, Renata thinks about the woman she was a year ago, fearful, manipulated, believing she had to buy love. That woman is gone. In her place stands someone who understands a fundamental truth: real love never has a price, and freedom is never too expensive. And that's Renata's story. A story of betrayal, yes, but more importantly a story of reclaiming your life, your dignity, and your freedom. What strikes me most about this journey is how Renata discovered her worth wasn't measured in the money she could give, but in the respect she deserved as a human being. She learned that being alone by choice is far better than being surrounded by people who only value your wallet. Now I want to hear from you. What would you have done in Renata's situation? Have you ever experienced something similar with family members? How do you set boundaries with people you love? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love hearing your perspectives. If Renata's story touched your heart, please show your support by hitting that like button. It helps more people find these important stories. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Maee's Stories and turn on notifications so you never miss our next powerful life story. Remember, beautiful souls, you deserve to be valued for who you are, not for what you can give. Never let anyone convince you that your worth is tied to your generosity. True love respects boundaries. True family honors your dignity. Thank you so much for spending these 20 minutes with me today. Until next time, take care of yourselves, set those boundaries, and remember you are special, you are worthy, and you are enough. This is Maee's Stories, and I'll see you in the next one.